n'avez jamais vu ça. Tout Rio n'en revient pas. On court pour admirer là. Cause sa Casanova.
Dans l'enfer des grandes villes, on vit dans l'enfer jamais tranquille, on vit dans l'enfer de la vitesse et le temps voulant le gagner on le perd, on vit dans l'enfer des temps modernes, on vit dans l'enfer de trop à faire, on vit dans l'enfer de tant de bruit et l'argent que l'on a, on n'en profite pas.
Et quand on voit un coin de ciel, on est soudain tout bleu, on est tout seul, on a envie de Tahiti, mais c'est loin, c'est trop loin. Un jour on ira si on peut, quand on sera bien riche et bien trop vieux, mais à rêver on perd du temps, et l'enfer nous attend.
On vit dans l'enfer de trop de monde, on vit dans l'enfer des bonnes rondes, on vit dans l'enfer de tant de nuits où l'on croit
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 2026 Minicomic Awards ceremony. I'm your host tonight. I'm Mary Shyne. I'm a career staff artist and I'm author of the graphic novel You and Me on Repeat. And I'm your fellow Cartoonist United compatriot. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to celebrate one of the greatest art forms, mini comics. And tonight we'll be honoring the achievements of cartoonists making mini comics across 7 different categories. We're talking fiction, we're talking nonfiction, we're talking fantasy, humor, horror, romance, and sci-fi, baby. And the winners in each category were selected by our panel of judges and will be awarded a cash prize. Here's a little background on our esteemed judges, 2 of whom are here with us tonight. First up is Aidan Kwan. Kwan is a Bay Area-based public librarian and co-creator of the Queer Comics database. Before moving into librarianship, they worked in comic shops, emphasizing creator-owned graphic novels and zines. They now do work serving marginalized populations while also getting comics into the hands of readers. Let's give it up for Aidan. All right, Aiden, you have any words for us before I move on to the next?
Not really. Or I guess I should say the shirt that I have on is made by Jordi Belair and Phonographics. It's from several years ago. Not sure if it's still available, but I should give that credit.
Nice, awesome. We love it.
Comics are for everyone.
Comics are for everyone.
Mhm.
All right. So our next judge is Luke Pearson. So Luke is a cartoonist, illustrator, and writer, best known for the Hilda series of comics and the animated series of the same name, the first season of which was the winner of the BAFTA Children's Award for Best Animated Series in 2019 and garnered a number of Emmy Awards. His work has been on a number of best of lists and garnered rave reviews, including such praise as a perfect pitch between childlike adventure, subtle mystery, and gentle lyricism, that was from Booklist, and charming and surprisingly cozy from PW. Luke was the winner of the Young People's Comic category at the British Comic Awards in 2012 and was nominated for an Eisner Award in 2014. Luke sadly could not be here tonight due to a time zone conflict, but thank you so much, Luke, for all your hard work as a judge.
Yeah, Luke.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we have Casey Green.
I
Casey Green was born in 1987 in Oklahoma, but is currently based in Massachusetts. He has been drawing comics since he was a kid and has not stopped and seemingly can't stop. Casey has done work for Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Mad Magazine, SpongeBob Comics, Oni Press, BuzzFeed, Boom Studios, and more. Let's give it up for Casey.
Hi, everyone. It's
All
past
right, got
my
anything to say,
bedtime.
Casey?
It's past my bedtime. I'm tired.
No, thank you for having me today. It was very
Of,
fun to look at all these mini comics.
of course. Thank you so much for going through all of them. It must have been rad.
Mm.
All right, a true murder's row of talent right here in our judges panel, but our focus tonight is, as ever, on the mini comics. So mini comics are often overshadowed by their longer cousins, graphic novels and serials. But in a lot of ways, short form comics are the testing ground for everything interesting that comics can do. Growing out of zine culture, professional magazines, and early convention circuits, mini comics have been the backbone of comics as both a scene and an art form. By being cheaper and quicker to produce, distribute, and read, they are both how many new cartoonists break into the industry and how veteran cartoonists push themselves in their craft. Experimentation with form, content, and presentation are all the name of the game here. With over 600 entrants this year, the Minicomic Awards has received a historic spread of styles, genres, media, and experience, and our judges have narrowed this down to just 21 nominees across 7 genres, with 3 nominees in each genre. Now, before we get this cracking, I'd like to give one last round of thank yous to Cartoonists United for setting up the awards. Thank you, Cartoonists United. I'd also love to give a big thank you to Sloane Leong and Leslie Hung for founding the Mini Comic Awards. Without y'all, we are not here. So thank you.
Woo.
And also, I'd like to thank all our donors for supporting us. A special thanks to our sponsors tonight, including Comics.one, Zomic Books, Staratale, Diskette Press, Slice, St. Louis Independent Comics Expo, Philippe Sidney Guamba, Val Pendergast, and Cosmic Lion Manga Department. So we're rolling right into an ad read for Cosmic Lion Manga Department, who are an indie comic publishing company known for making comics for of every kind for every mind. CLP is founded and led by creator slash publisher Eli Schwab. CLP would like to personally congratulate the participants and winners of the Minicomics Awards. Keep your inks dark and your future bright. Thank you, Eli. Now, let's get down to it. Just to give you an idea of how this is going to work, I'll first announce the category, and then I'll announce the nominees and give a little description of each, and then I'll announce the winner. Then, after the winner's announced, our judges and myself will give the winner a little bit of feedback about why we love their comic. All right, let's get a crack in. Our first category is general fiction. General fiction entries are defined by their proximity to reality, though, as our nominees this year can attest, that doesn't mean that they can't contain surrealism, hyperreality, or metaphor. The nominees for general fiction are Welcome to the Internet, Transvestite by R.D. Ryuka Yoon. This comic is a harrowing depiction of the cruelty directed at young trans girls as they attempt to find themselves. Told in bright, brash colors and harsh and twisting shapes, this comic wants the reader to feel the rope tightening with every page turn. Our next nominee is Jersey by Skiles Robert Salvador. Jersey tells the story of a detached little girl rationalizing away her mother's neglect. Drawn in a matter-of-fact style with brown pen and simple hatching, Jersey leads the reader to feel like this is just how it's always been and always will be. Our final nominee is Island by Lucy Haslam. Island is a quiet, surrealist comic about a woman attempting to re-enter society after being stranded on a deserted island. Now that she's back, she finds that she can no longer relate to her friends. The present is told in soft, smeary visuals, while the past island is depicted much more concretely, leading to the past feeling much more real than the present. All right, and the winner in general fiction is Island by Lucy Haslam. Yeah! Congratulations to Lucy! All right, we love to see the chat blow up with applause. All right, Aiden, we're turning it over to the judges. Can you tell us a bit about what drew you to Island?
Yeah, I loved how strange and atmospheric this comic was. It was one where I didn't necessarily know what it was trying to make me feel, but for me, it got at the feeling of living through something monumental but lonely, and then returning to find that a place that was once home has become odd and unfamiliar, and that the
Mm,
things that happen to when the things that happen to you quickly cease to matter to everyone else. So I really liked that those were kind of unique feelings that it evoked in me.
absolutely. Casey, what did you think about Island?
Island was really affecting and visceral cartooning. Like I felt
Mm,
her despondency, the character's despondency on like coming back, and even on the island of just like I could make this work, you know. It felt like a low level scary dream that you can't really wake from. Like it's not a bad one, but it's like not a great one. You keep like falling asleep, and like more of it keeps happening, you know.
hmm
It's very dreamy, but very good, very very good.
It's so good. Luke did write descriptions for all of the comics at once, so this is what Luke says. He called Island a dreamy and pensive comic with an original voice. Although it centers on a situation we'll likely never go through, the character's experience feels deeply universal and quietly heartbreaking. So personally, I loved the atmosphere Island created, like both of you said. You could really feel the contradiction of how the protagonist felt more detached in society than they did on the island. It was sort of like if Franz Kafka wrote that Tom Hanks Castaway movie. Um, and just thinking about that, it gets me thinking about Wilson, and I'm gonna change categories so I don't cry. So we're gonna go straight to nonfiction, which is our next category. So, from autobiographical work to historical accounts, nonfiction attempts to contextualize and rationalize the world around us. In reading the autobiographies of others, we can see pieces of ourselves reflected back. It can help us flesh out more of our truth and better understand the world around us. The nominees in nonfiction are Nino by Athena Naylor. Nino is a frankly told story from the 2020 quarantine about living across from a neighbor with an extremely punchable face. It serves as a parable about the ease with which people can invent entire narratives about each other with no direct basis in reality. Nino's simple, straightforward style feels just as universal as its narrative premise. The next nominee is Snow by Xiao Ni. Told through gorgeous winter vignettes that verge on picture book, Snow represents the cartoonist's life as a Taiwanese person interacting with snow and how it represents the concept of being far from home. The lack of true black in any of the visuals gives the comic a soft, floating wistfulness. And our last nominee is Crunk Number 8 by George Totkus. Crunk Number 8 is a fever dream of a comic featuring photo collage, panels overlapping with medical text, and diagrams weaving through the background. It's all in service of telling the story of one really bizarre dental appointment. The visuals make for an experience that's as disorienting as it is funny. Those are our nominees. And the winner for nonfiction is Nino by Athena Naylor. Congratulations, Nino. Nino, you've got a punchable face, but you made for a very lovable comic. All right. Aiden, what did you like about Nino?
Yeah, I'll just read my comment directly since I'm more articulate in writing. This
I feel
comic
ya.
capture this comic captures something about being human, or many somethings. The curiosity, the projections, the resentment, sometimes undeserved, the shame, the ways we connect, and the ways we fail to do so.
Excellent. Yeah, I totally feel that about this comic. Casey, what did you think about Athena Naylor's wonderful comic?
Uh, Pretty much seconding all Aiden said. It's just the way the author can pull you along with their anger against this guy they know nothing about, because it was all pandemic. You're all just stuck inside it. It makes you feel as vulnerable as they did at the end with the cartoonist. That's a feat to bring the reader along with you like that, to like make them, you're one on one with them, being like, this guy's nothing, and then you catch him in a vulnerable moment at the end, and you're like, oh,
Oh yeah,
I was wrong.
vulnerable, but also like funny in its own way.
Yeah, yeah. It that kind of people watching is so interesting.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
very rear window, but with less stakes, I guess.
Yes. Yes, with much less stakes.
Yeah.
As far as Luke's opinion, Luke said Nino is an expertly told autobio comic by equal turns funny and thoughtful. It ends on a question that I was asking myself for days, which is that aforementioned revelation moment of vulnerability Casey mentioned. For me, Nino has that quirky spark of an autobio comic straight out of like a 90s one-man anthology. Step aside, Adrian Tomine, Athena Naylor's in town. Congrats to Athena. And now a little word from our sponsors. Comics.one is an all-in-one platform for independent comic creators that puts the creators first. Their global marketplace has 1,500 comics in digital and print on demand and inbuilt crowdfunding fulfillment, all with a versatile e-reader. With multiple genres and books by award-winning creators, there's something for everyone. The best part, when you buy from Comics.one, you support creators directly with a strong no AI, no NFT policy. We love to hear it. Sign up is free, and we'll even give you a handful of comics for free to get you started. Head on over to Comics.one to grab a copy of your next favorite indie comic today. All right, back to our mini comics. We're resuming our program very far afield from nonfiction comics because our next category is fantasy. So we usually affiliate fantasy with multi-volume epics, which is what makes these fantasy mini comics really special. They're packing enough punch in 24 pages or less to convey an entirely new world. The nominees for fantasy are The Eddystone Light by Ray Theta Extense. The Eddystone Light follows three half-mermaids taking care of a lighthouse in a storm. The textured monochrome nib and ink style gives life to a stormy night filled with jaunty fishwomen. Our next nominee is To Bleed Stone Dry by Artie Ryuka Yoon. This visual feast of a comic uses its bold colors and shapes to tell a tragic story of two lovers, a vampire and a stone angel. It's a gift of the Magi-esque parable of paramours who want what the other has, only to destroy themselves in the pursuit of that want. The frenzied visuals drag you along right to the horrible climax. And our final nominee is Catherine Wheel by George Beerley. Welcome to a fun medieval fantasy romp. This comic's about a monk who wants to steal an evil wizard's figs. Whimsically shaped and imaginatively designed, the whole comic feels like an attempt to blend the spontaneity of claymation with the rigidity and texture of a medieval woodblock print. And the winner is... Gotta get the envelope out. And the winner is... To Bleed Stone Dry by Artie Ryuka Yoon. Congratulations, Ryuka! This comic was a banger. Aiden, what did you love about this comic?
Yeah, so this comic is a tale that, despite its brevity, feels epic. It's visually striking in every way. The bold colors, the character designs, the gilded paneling and lettering and figures, and also the use of textures and patterns and flat color. I also loved how it transmutes classic elements into an innovative and queer fable of desire, self-loathing, transformation, and self-destruction. It's just really complex and cinematic and complete.
Absolutely. Yeah, this comic had my jaw on the floor. What did you think, Casey?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a beautifully sad tale about outcasts on either side of the scripture, and like great sense of color and usage of black in the art. Um, I love a vibrant comic. You can all you. I mean, I would love to see this in a print format because that's got to be very like beautiful to look at.
Definitely,
Um,
but I would definitely want it to be like probably like a Rizzo or something. I'm not sure CMYK can get those vibrant colors.
you'd be surprised, but a Rizzo, ooh, that'd be cool.
Luke really loved this one too. He said it looks like the love child of an ancient DOS adventure game and an illuminated manuscript. The story feels like it could be a genuine time-worn folktale while also being painfully contemporary. A really original and visually exciting work. So I'm not gonna lie, the craftsmanship on this one stunned me, both from an art and a storytelling perspective. And the creator is still very young, and so I'm just very stoked for all of the future comics we're gonna get from Ryuka as he only grows in power. Very excited. I'm gonna cool it with the dramatic talk though, because our next category is the exact opposite. Humor. So humor is the genre that gives comics its name. Humor is often where the possibilities of the medium get their best chance to shine. Outside of the rules of physics, everything on the page can be as exaggerated as possible, from innocent children to wacky slapstick to the very fires of hell. Anything can ping pong off of anything, as much as the jokes demand. The nominees for humor are If You Have a Walk, You Have Everything by Mitzi Gall. This is an adorable comic about adorable children who won't stop ruining their dad's plans. The bright colors and patchwork look gives this whole comic a very picture book sensibility. This comic encourages early readers to consider how they themselves might also utilize a walk as a play tool. The next nominee is Where is My Pookie by Jojo Owakaki. This comic follows a trans man who loses his cis boyfriend at a T for T sex party in hell. The presentation is almost entirely in black and white with minimal toning, with rough texturing to amp up the edginess of the setting. Despite its absurd premise, there's a lot of heart here too. And the final nominee is Dr. Waffles by Steve Steiner. Steiner drew this comic almost entirely in a Silver Age style, except for the titular doctor, who is an extremely simple cartoon waffle. This comic really showcases the medium's capacity for stylistic shift as its own form of storytelling. The seriousness of the medical emergencies contrasted with sentient breakfast food makes for a romp that people of all ages can opt into, provided they're not too squeamish. All right, those are our nominees. And the winner for humor is Dr. Waffles by Steve Steiner. All right. Dr. Waffles. Congratulations, Steve. All right, Aiden, tell us what drew you to Dr. Waffles besides his perfect golden brown exterior.
This is just so absurd. Like I don't even really know how to put it into words because I think it was just it's such a crazy concept but so well executed.
Yes.
Like you have the Silver Age comic, like you said, and then in the middle of it, just the juxtaposition between that and like the waffle, which keeps saying absurd things that everyone keeps reacting to very seriously, was just
Mhm.
endlessly funny to me.
Yeah, and he has like a wife that's also drawn in Silver Age style. It's so good. Casey, what did you think?
Yeah, letting him be a real character, the giant talking waffle that is a classic move that's done well by Steiner in this. It reminds me of like the way regular show on Cartoon Network would be. You know, they're all he's a gumball, but he's their boss. He's a gumball machine, but he's their boss and all that stuff. Um,
Absolutely.
and just really nice, simple, good line work, like getting the classic Silver Age style. And then there's just waffle. All he's got is a fork, but he's a damn good doctor.
And he did look pretty delicious too. Good looking waffle.
It's been a while since I had a waffle, I gotta say.
Luke loved this one too. He said it was pitch perfect and absurd, laugh out loud funny from start to finish, which is not an easy feat. And I really like this one personally because it feels like the kind of mini comic you see on just like you're just walking through Artist Alley and you see this comic called Dr. Waffle and it just the premise makes you laugh and it causes you to pick it up. And I feel like that's kind of like the heart of mini comics. Um, Speaking of the good stuff of comics, we've got another word from our sponsors, and this is for Diskette Press. Diskette Press is proud to sponsor the Cartoonist Cooperative. As a publisher of exclusively queer and trans creators, Diskette gives artists the opportunity to publish and create unrestrained. And boy, have they delivered this year. Look out for 24 new books, including full-length graphic novels, zines, novellas, smut, and art books by artists you've heard of, and some new ones as well. Diskette even offers risograph and digital printing and binding in-house, so they can even make your self-publication dreams come true. Let Diskette fill that hole in your comics collection. Available at diskettepress.com. And speaking of that hole that's made for me, our next category is horror. Horror represents a unique challenge from a cartooning perspective, since comics are devoid of sound and traditional timing. However, that's what makes horror comics so intriguing. Cartoonists must use interesting panel layouts, image juxtaposition, and deliberately illegible forms to build tension and disorient the audience. The nominees in horror are Sheep by Tegan Bishop. Sheep is a classic shapeshifter infiltration story. A monk returns to his monastery in the dead of night, and soon after, that same monk's corpse is found in the woods. Realizing too late that their brother is not who he says he is, they must track down the monster before it can kill again. Presented with almost procedural frankness, this makes the moments of horror stand out starkly. Our next nominee is Can You Find Alyssa May by Tyler Solomon. This comic is a modern Aesop fable about dangerous parasocial relationships. When a YouTube influencer starts to resent her fans, the comic's narrator, an obsessive fan themselves, becomes convinced that the influencer has been replaced with a fake. The narrator's disordered thoughts are presented as a jumbled mass of overlapping panels. A dominant blue tone allows for intrusive thoughts to cut through in bright swaths of red, and we are forced to watch as the narrator is pulled towards a dangerous decision. And our final nominee is Thick and Lush by Banu Pratap. A tour de force of surrealist imagery, the comic follows a man who only has 3 very long hairs on his head that are incapable of being cut. Thick and Lush is full of long, spindly lines and ropey, squirmy appendages that create an extremely visceral reading experience as one man is punished for taking his gifts for granted. And the winner is, in horror, Thick and Lush by Banu Pratap. Congratulations, Banu! Very well deserved. Aiden, what drew you to Thick and Lush?
So this comic was bizarre and unexpected. Just really unlike most other comics I've seen, both in terms of story and art. And I can safely say I would never have predicted the way that the comic unfolds.
Me neither. Total twist. Total twist. How about you, Casey?
Yeah, that the way it ends is oddly beautiful for such a gross and bold otherwise comic. I love the gorgeous and emotive line work. It's very feels very animated on the page, which is which is good for such a wild story about hair.
Absolutely. It's
Mm.
so kinetic. And Luke definitely agreed. Luke said Pratap's drawing feels loose and alive, but also wildly technically impressive, depicting simple gestures and grotesque horrors with equal skill and delight. So this one genuinely grossed me out. But I mean that as a compliment. This comic's artwork has kind of the organic delight you get from an Egon Schiele painting, even if I did kind of have to like read it with my hands in front of my face, which was good because I was reading on a computer, so I could do that. Let's give our stomachs a little break from that though and turn over to our next category, which is romance. The romance is often reduced to cliches. There's a wide range of emotions and experiences tangled together when people get to smooching. Whether it be first crushes, long-held partnerships, or carnal consummation, romance comics are fundamental explorations of the human condition. The nominees for romance are In the Eyes of a Dog by Pearl Law. This comic follows a budding relationship between 2 men, told from the point of view of Reggie the dog. Primarily in black and white, color creeps in more and more as Reggie's human falls in love, and the new boyfriend is drawn in increasing detail as he and Reggie bond. The next nominee is We Were Just Playing Pretend by Linda Liu. In this comic, the narrator loves a girl that can never be part of her family and so must be hidden away. The dark colors and simple shapes build a world of secrets and claustrophobia. The steady thrum of longing throughout this comic is a powerful reminder that not all romance is romanticized when you're queer. And our final nominee is Turbo Soft Tick by Tusia Shirkova. This is a gentle, dreamlike comic about someone who can't stop fantasizing about private moments with their partner amidst their waking life full of boring family obligations. The loose lines and pale blue color palette blanket the entire work, in an all-consuming softness that gives the erotic intrusions a wonderfully sensuous feel. And the winner in the romance category is In the Eyes of a Dog by Pearl Law. Congratulations, Pearl! All right, Aiden, it's hard to say no to puppy dog eyes, but what else struck you about this comic?
So the dog POV is adorable, but it's also really fun how the romance is there, but the dog doesn't really care about all that, or cares
Yeah,
about it, but just in kind of this charmingly skeptical way. And I was just also really impressed at how the dog kind of has a character arc or a relationship arc with the human's boyfriend in such a short, in sh yeah, just such a short span.
definitely. It also felt very real, right? That's what I liked about it. What did you like, Casey?
Yeah, the dog's the selfish way a dog can think is captured well in its thoughts and all that stuff. Especially as the dog themselves open up to the boyfriend. It's very well like yeah, dogs can be kind of crappy too in that way, in a selfish way, but they're beautiful animals nonetheless. And and I think that's done very well here.
Absolutely. Yeah, very good characterization of a dog here.
Mhm.
Luke says, convincingly does what the title suggests, showing us the early stages of a relationship from an unusual POV. Reggie the dog is one of my favorite cartoon creations of recent times, a perfect little comic. And I gotta agree, the dog design in this one is so perfect. Just these perfectly circular eyes with like little fountains of a middle part. It's an adorable dog for an adorable dojinshi. And with that, we've got only one category left to announce. But before we do, let's take a little break for our sponsor, Spider Forest. Spider Forest is one of the longest running webcomic collectives around. For over 20 years, it's been known for high quality stories spanning many styles and genres, from fantasy to science fiction to slice of life and more. Spider Forest isn't a publisher, it's a cozy community of like minded creators who care deeply about the craft of comics. No matter where you are in your webcomic making journey, we support a positive place to work, learn, and grow together. If you're interested, check out spiderforest.com. You can also apply for your comic to be a Spider Forest comic. Applications will open this June, which is in like a few days. That sounds amazing. I'm going to be checking out Spider Forest just as soon as we're done here. So without further ado, our final category is science fiction. While it shares a lot in common with its sister genre fantasy, science fiction's deviations from the real tend to be more grounded. Science fiction is primarily interested in exploring how people cope with their altered existence, whether that's a world where everything is very different with a literal alien landscape, or a world where just one person's life is changed. The nominees are This Used to Be Our Room by Bread Comics. A would-be Dr. Frankenstein, in a fit of self-loathing, decides to build himself a perfect replacement to live in his stead. The creation, however, finds itself just as lost and ill-equipped as its predecessor. Depicted in dark and moody graphite tones and using a persistent shadow puppets technique, it's a haunting reminder that nothing can save us from being ourselves. The next nominee is A Scientific Study of Transsexuality by Oscar Woodywis. Prioritizing a functionalist perspective over a narrative one, this comic reads like a poem. It leads the reader through an extremely stylized depiction of the process through which trans people become themselves and the hurdles they have to navigate to remain this way. The soft marks making of the illustrations combined with the bright pink paper and blue ink makes for a visual feast. And our final nominee is Pinned Writhing by Jean Doran. Style is key to this comic. Told in grungy, smeary images with dark shadows and bright colors that are few and far between, this comic tells the story of two people who live underground after the world ended. Graphite and crayon and paint smears inform you of their relationship falling apart when one decides to opt into a risky medical experiment to save life on Earth. The result is brutal in both its heaviness and its concrete rigidity. And the winner for science fiction in a different envelope is Pinned Writhing by Jean Doran. Congratulations, Jean! Yeah! All right, Aiden, what about this comic left you pinned to it, so to speak?
This one was breathtakingly surreal and haunting and strange. I loved the odd proportions of the figures and the all the different textures of the media that were used, and the way that it would go from kind of a more desaturated color palette to suddenly full spreads of color. Like you said, the style was really key to this one, and the images and especially the mood of the comic really stuck with me long after I was finished reading it.
Definitely. It is definitely a lingerer. What did you think, Casey?
It was very evocative with everything. I enjoy a sci-fi story that's afraid of the future. And so same.
Yeah,
um just kind of an eerie to place yourself in a similar situation, to be lost in a world leaving you behind and finding the worst ways you can to keep up with it is very just like
yeah.
stays
The
with
parallels, be paralleling.
you.
As far as Luke goes, he said it was a richly textural artwork accompanying a personal vision of a strange, dark future. The result is fresh, punchy, and haunting. And for me, this comic really spoke to how sophisticated comics can be. The art is very modernist, but the narrative itself is kind of a classic post-apocalyptic sci-fi premise. It's a really great juxtaposition. And just to give a little heat to the end of the ceremony, I'd like to shout out our last sponsor, Filthy Figments. If you want erotic stories that move beyond a focus on solely male pleasure and that lean into plotline, filthyfigments.com is waiting for you. Home to one of the largest and hottest collections of original erotic comics on the internet, our talented lineup of creators explore a variety of sexualities, genders, body types, kinks, and fetishes. A little something for adults passionate about comics with passion. And that's going to be a wrap on the Minicomic Awards. Huge congratulations to all of the winners. Congratulations, winners. Big round of applause. And a big congratulations to all the nominees, too. Nominees, all of these comics. Oh, they were all great. No skips. And of course, thanks to every creator who submitted their work. Y'all are the ones keeping this art form alive and thriving. Thank you again for attending the 5th annual Minicomic Awards. Now more than ever, I'm glad we can come together at events like this to celebrate the accomplishments of the artists behind the comic canvas. When we're alone at home scrolling on our phones, it can feel like forces beyond our control are working tirelessly to squash creative expression in the name of maximizing capital gains. That's why these events, these comics, and communities like Cartoonists United are more important than ever. Together, we can affirm that the comics we make are valuable and worthy of being read and appreciated. We affirm that the compulsion to create art is an important right, as well as a skill that deserves fair compensation. And most importantly, we affirm each other as irreplaceable, as cartoonists, and as humans. As the little fish versus big fish meme would tell us, do not panic, organize. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Quand on parle de toi, on ne dit que samba, mais il n'y a pas que ça. Si che vive Rochora, a Paris c'est chega, semblant Ushuima.
Pardonne-lui, il dit n'importe quoi. Pardonne-lui, sa guitare et ses doigts. Pardonne-lui, même s'il n'a pas la voix. Pardonne-lui, mais il n'aime que ça.
Au Brésil, où est ton secret? Au Brésil, nous sommes indiscrets, mais redis.